Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. It's Tuesday, it means it's time for transfer talk. But before we get into the transfer talk, let's talk about release clauses. Because I'm seeing that phrase flung around like it's going out of fashion. Release clause this, buyout clause that. It's not as simple as that, right? They're not the same thing either. Buyout clauses and release clauses, two slightly different things. Buyout clauses are mandatory in Spain, which means that every employment contract, regardless of whatever it is, I think it's every one anyway, it's definitely like in the case in football, needs to have a buyout clause. So every single employee needs to be able to be bought out of their contract and move on. That's a restriction of employment sort of law to stop people being locked into shit that they don't want to be locked into. Now, technically, the letter of the law says that the player would need to buy himself out of any sort of contract. And you hear talk of like Messi's and Ronaldo's being like 500 million euros. And Herrera's was like 40 million euros or some shit like that. As we famously saw the season that it didn't go through and then the season that it did go through. It doesn't state anything about tax. So when stuff happens overseas, it gets pretty messy. As we saw with Javi Martinez going over to Bayern Munich as well. The thing with these contracts is it's a mandatory thing in Spain, but because of the transfer window, you're not necessarily able to force these things through. In Spain, it means you can talk to them and then, whatever. You've still got to sort out who's going on with the tax, so it can actually be 20%, 25% more than what the window price says it's going to be. In England, though, it's completely different, and they actually don't mean a goddamn thing, as we saw with Suarez and Arsenal. Suarez supposedly has this release fee of 40 million, and anything over that means that the club can talk to him. Arsenal bid 40 million and a pound. In legal terms, whether it takes the piss or not, it's a technical term. So if it's a legally binding contract, it shouldn't matter. If it's over it, it's enough, right? And that's probably what Arsenal thought when they flung it in, right? They knew it was taking a piss, but they was like, well, it's a technicality. You're having it. 40 million and a pound. Liverpool go, how does go fuck yourself sound? But in Scouse. Now, that shouldn't have been the case. If it's a legally binding contract, it shouldn't have mattered. They should have just been like, well, yeah. But that's why it's not the case in England. And that's why it's not as simple as people are trying to make it out. On Football Manager, yeah, you fucking bid, and it's like, oh, this is meta release fee. You can talk to the player. In reality, the player the club can literally say, hey, how does go fuck off sound? And that's exactly what happened with Liverpool and Arsenal. Now, if it's in a contract and you've got every player has their contract, and if that's one of the clauses in the contract, the player's well within his rights to go, hang on, it says I can talk to clubs here if they bid X. Why can't I talk to them? And that's when the selling club would go, cool, go take it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. See what they say. Now, taking anything, instigating legal action with the Court of Arbitration for Sport is going to be 1, costly, and 2, time consuming. Now, if you're a professional athlete and you've not got the time to be going to fucking court to try and get yourself out of a contract, and you've also got the ticking time bomb of the end of the transfer window, it could very easily get dragged out from a summer transfer into September, October. And if that happens, you're out of the transfer window, and now you're staying at a club that you kicked off like fuck and took them to court to try and get out of your contract. Guess what? You're not going to be playing for the next 12 months. So the ball is very much in the court of the selling or not selling club. And you can't force your way through it like you can on video games and like you possibly can to a certain extent with Spanish clubs where they're a mandatory thing. Yeah, so that's about it really. So when you hear talk of the one I'm going to talk about next with Toby Alderweireld, he's got a £25 million release fee, you go, oh shit, that's a bargain for a player that's arguably one of the best defenders in the league. Very good player. But this is Daniel Levy that we're talking about, and this is Tottenham Hotspur that we're talking about. Do you see him wanting to play the game and be really nice to a player that's leaving his club, that wants to leave his club? Or do you see him completely fucking us and trying to get the maximum out and not letting the player leave? I honestly can't see us getting Toby Alderweireld for less than 40 million. Definitely not for 25. I mean, 25 is a fucking brilliant price. If that was the case, I would want United to be looking at the possibilities of getting him signed for 25 million right now and get him in January, because he's a fucking brilliant defender, one of the best in the league, no doubts about it whatsoever. But if there is a line in his contract, then as I said earlier, the case in England is it's more of a gentleman's handshake agreement written down, more of a good faith sort of thing. Like if you're a smaller club, let's say you're a Leicester, and there's supposedly release clauses in for the likes of Mahrez if someone like a Real Madrid comes in, then it's a good faith thing. That if someone big comes in, yeah, we understand, we know our place, we know Leicester's not fucking Real Madrid. Go on. If they've put 40 million on the table, we'll let you go. But ultimately, Leicester can just go, nah, fuck you. Take me to court. And they would lose if it went to court, I would have thought. If it's written down in the contract, it would be a fairly straightforward thing. But the fact that they can say, nah, fuck it, take me to court, which is going to be a ball bust for the player, and it might get dragged out through, especially if you're trying to conduct this in the last couple of weeks before the transfer window ends. If you start a long run-up at it, like you start in February or March for a summer transfer, you've got a good chance of forcing it through maybe. But it feels like, which is crazy as well, by the way, it feels like a lot of transfers are literally conducted in the last weeks of a transfer. A lot of people are waiting for things to move. There's a lot of cogs need to turn. We saw with the Paul Pogba transfer that was 2 years in the making, but it still dragged right on past the start of the season before it actually really went through. So you have to go, right, if this is the case, that deals can happen that far in advance, and all these players need to start moving clubs before something happens. I mean, look, Juventus spent all that money before he came in, didn't they, really? And maybe that was part of the problem. Maybe we was waiting for them to finish signing whoever they wanted to sign before they let him go. So it feels like you can't get the business done that quickly. And if you're trying to mess about with a release fee in the middle of all that too, then you're probably going to struggle, I do believe. Anyway, the next one that we've got to talk about is Virgil van Dijk. Another player that I'm a big fan of. This guy's a big fuck. This is a big fuck. Really big fan of him. Think he's excellent in the air. He's quick-footed. I like him. Saints have developed a little bit of a reputation for being a team that is used a little bit like a stepping stone, and maybe that's to their benefit. Maybe that helps them attract players that they know are good enough and are going to develop, and they can say to them when they're signing them, look, you know what happens when players come and play here. You give us a good couple of seasons, then you move on for a big money transfer somewhere else. Maybe that's part of their recruitment strategy. I don't know. But anyway, Virgil van Dijk, it looks like this is another one potentially got some sort of release fee in there. You know my feelings on release fees. But there might be something in this with Saints, because Saints are already looking at centre-half shaped replacements. The thing that worries me about this one is that the papers haven't pinned anybody down to this. They're saying it could be Everton, it could be United, it could be Liverpool, it could be City. What they've probably been given wind of is that Saints are signing someone because someone's leaving, and then they're just throwing the jigsaw pieces together themselves. So, who's he going to sign for? Fuck no, son. The next one, we've got another defender. There's a lot of defenders in here, which also might mean... Sometimes you have to build up a picture and you think, there are leaks, right? There are still leaks. Not as many leaks as there was when Fergie was here or even when David Moyes was here, but there's still leaks. So I have to look at these leaks and I have to say, do you know what? The shape of all these leaks means that I reckon, because the newspapers don't write bullshit. Don't exclusively write bullshit. They do write bullshit, but they don't exclusively write bullshit. They try and get an angle on it themselves. They want to be right. They don't just go, fuck it. Well, some do. The Sun do. But they also want to be seen as getting these things right. So the fact that there's a fuckload of defenders means to me, someone somewhere from the club might have just said, we're looking at centre-halves for January. And that's led to a load of journalists going, oh shit, Alderweireld, Van Dijk, Lindelof, names. So I reckon there's probably something in the fact that we are looking at centre-halves, especially with the fact that Eric Bailly came in, looked absolutely mint, and he's probably going to get fit just in time to fuck off to the African Cup of Nations. So there's a very good chance. Why we don't look internally, I don't know, because we've got some fucking phenomenal centre-halves absolutely levering on the door. Axel Tuanzebe, I'm talking about you. But why we are, I don't know. Because next year you're going to have a massive conundrum, because Axel Tuanzebe is going to be pushing 20 and definitely needs to be playing first team football to continue to develop. And then you've got the likes of Jones, Rojo, Smalling, Bayer, whoever the fuck you sign new. And then you've got Roshan and Tyrell Warren all sort of pushing for that first team place, as well as the likes of Regan Poole and others. So unless some of them are going to be fucked off out the door, what are you going to do? Unless you're going to be playing 8-man defence sort of teams, which I know Jose's got a reputation for being defensive first, but that takes the piss a little bit, doesn't it? The last one that we want to talk about then, Victor Lindelof. These rumours here won't go away. They're consistent. And I'm fully prepared to be wrong on this one, but I don't think he's very good. I like that. I certainly don't think he's fucking good enough to be ranked to a 60 million euro sort of release fee. Again, the release fucking fee thing. But I certainly don't think that's the sort of figures that he should be playing for him. I don't think he's very good. I think he's I think he's fucking Jemba-ish. How about that? Playing at centre-half. Just not impressed with him in the fucking slightest whatsoever. Sports Witness also reckon that we are looking at Nelson Semedo, also of Benfica. Now, this comes back to what I was saying on the youth review 5 weeks ago, where United had appointed 50 members of staff in the recruitment department. Now, when you appoint 50 members of staff in the recruitment department, with the vast majority, like 80-85% of them being scouts, what the fuck do you think they're going to be doing? Think about it. You fucking sign a shit ton of scouts. This is head scouts as well, so you're going to have regional head scouts like Portuguese and Sweden and all the rest of it. They're going to be employing 6, 8, 10, fucking 12 people to then work under them. So when you see Manchester United are scouting this guy, Manchester United are scouting this guy, Manchester United are scouting this guy, fucking course they are. That's what scouts do. And we've just hired a fucking gang of them. So I'm getting fucking well pissed off and sick of this shit, in all honesty, seeing that United are scouting someone, so we're obviously buying him. No, we're just building up a fucking picture of what's going on, who's available, and how good they are, and possibly even ranking our own players against them to see what value for money is out there in the world. Doesn't mean we're signing anybody. It means that we're getting a picture of what world football is saying. Right, that's the ins. Let's look at the outs. There's not too many outs. I've not had any sort of development on what's going on with Memphis, apart from what I got told last week, which is that he's looking at going Everton. It looks like it's going to be a permanent deal. The other one that sort of surfaced today, not unsurprisingly either, to be honest, is Fellaini. He's going to be forced out of the club, and he's going on loan to West Ham, and he's going to get sold to Everton. And this is lazy journalism, ladies and gentlemen, right here. This is lazy journalism, because he might go. But to just go, he fucked up there, fuck it, that's going to get loads of clicks and loads of reads if we say that they're now going to sell him on the back of it. You don't know that. There's no way Jose Mourinho was sitting there last night and thought, do you know what, I'm going to phone up this ball bag from the fucking Sun or the Metro and tell him, hey, do you know what? Yeah, you're fucking right, Fellaini's shit, let's get rid of him. That phone call didn't happen. If anything, that sort of shit wouldn't come out until later in the week, even if he made that decision on Sunday. If he made that decision Sunday, he would have been discussing it with all his boys today. And then what? And then he's just going to say, what? Yeah, let's get rid of him. It's not that easy. The only way that might have been leaked is if he's got on the phone to an agent and just said, get this cunt out of my club. Which he might have done. He's good mates with George Mendes. George Mendes has got links to the papers. That is how this sort of stuff gets out. Trust me, that is how that sort of stuff gets out. Agents are going to be looking to try and move people on. I'm not sure who Fellaini's agent is. I'm not sure that you're going to want to try and move him on. And an agent's not going to want to try and move him on in the circumstances that he's just found, because he's not going to go for a pay rise, is he? No siree. As for where he could go, now here's a problem that Manchester United face. The likes of Phil Jones, Ashley Young, Fellaini. Players that I personally, and you might agree, you might disagree, even Rooney, are probably best not being at the club. The problem that we have with those players is that they are on astronomical wages compared to every other fucker around the world. So if you are Everton, or you are Middlesbrough, Sunderland, whoever, and you might be looking at some cast-offs from Manchester United, and you might go, especially David Moyes at Sunderland, won't mind a bit of that Fellaini, think he can do a job here at Sunderland, and then you go, I'm going to phone Ed Woodward up, I'm going to phone Fellaini's agent up, and I'll say, right, yo, we can talk about a transfer, we'll take the hit on a transfer, you can have him for 14 million, something like that, half price, bargain. He's on how much? Will he take a pay cut? Fucking hell. Not going to come. Players are more than happy to just sit there and go, go fuck yourself. I'll sit here on these wages rather than go somewhere else for half the money. Can you blame them? Don't think you can, really, to be honest. I think you just got to say, well, it's one of those fucking things, isn't it? You paid them the money, you got to fucking pay them the wages. And I think that's half the reason why you're seeing Bastian back in the team, because he's on probably 250 grand. That's a lot of change, being just sloshed around for a guy that didn't have a fucking locker and was just going around Altrincham taking pictures of the fucking autumn leaves. So that's the problem that Manchester United face when we try and move players on, is that they're on such good money at Manchester United that they don't want to move. And it's not just a basic wage that they get with Manchester United. Being a Manchester United player gets you extra geetus when you come to talking to your boot sponsor or your fucking Brill Cream sponsor or anything associated with them. Manchester United is just bigger than anywhere else. The fact that you're a Manchester United player means that Under Armour are going to pay you more. It means that your fucking underwear supplier is going to pay you more. There's so many little extra things that come into play when you think about, oh, just fucking sell him. Can't be done. Anyway, that's enough for transfer talk today. Hope that was enjoyable for you. If you like these videos, please share them. I'm almost at 25,000 subs. As I said, I think that's a massive milestone. The first real big milestone. In fact, it's the second, in it, because I thought 10,000 was a decent marker. The next one being 25,000, and then it's 50, and then it's 100. That's the three that I'm looking at. I'm only really looking at getting to 100. That's when I will consider myself a proper YouTuber. 100,000 people, it's a significant portion of the population, isn't it? But I think I can get there, and especially with your guys' help. So please share the video, please comment, please hit that like button, and anything you fucking want. Hit me up in the Reddit group if you want to discuss anything in further detail. And also, they are giving away the PlayStation 4. Check this out. If you want the PlayStation 4, you need to go and follow Ben. I'll put the link in the description below. Go and follow Ben Adams, my co-host on the Stephen Howson podcast. Follow Ben. Hit his pinned tweet. Like it and reply to it. The way we have to run the games for you to win a PlayStation 4 is that you have to be joining an invited league. We can't just give a code out, unfortunately. You have to be sent the link, and I can't do it on my Twitter because I've got 55,000 followers. It crashes the app when I try and import my followers, so we're gonna have to do it on Ben. Ben's only got a couple of hundred, so go follow Ben, and then reply to the Tops the Pot pinned tweet saying yes, I want to go on the top of the pots competition. Get that done this week, and we'll be launching the competition for the PS4 on this Thursday's podcast. So make sure you go do that. Go check out Badams1983 on Twitter. I will throw the link in the description below. Go follow him, like and reply to his pinned tweet, and then we will send you a link for how you can join the game. It's all completely free, just a little bit of a ball bust in getting you the app downloaded and the game joined. Once you've done that, it's a piece of piss. You've just got to do 6 bets, and if you're top, come the end of the 6 weeks, you win a fucking PlayStation 4. No bullshit, no messing around, completely free. Someone's going to get a PS4. Might as well be you, my mate. Oh, you have to be over 18 and in the UK to play, and apart from that, crack on, my son. Anyway, anything you like in the comments, any questions or anything like that, hit me up in the comments right here, or head over to the Reddit group r/Howson and get talking over there. Thank you for watching once again. Fucking laters.
Smash it! Smash it!